Hello, everyone. Welcome to the webinar about the Ideas Lab, Use-Inspired Acceleration of Protein Design. The solicitation is called also USPRD. I'm Waleed Nasser. I'm a program director at the Directorate for Technology, Innovation, and Partnerships. I'm joined by my colleagues, S.J. Sudharman and Dr. David Tennenhouse, as well as Dr. David Darwin in the background as well. So I'm going to start the webinar. So let me start with the agenda. I'm going to briefly talk about the Directorate of Technology, Innovation, and Partnerships. It's a new directorate at NSF. Then I'm going to go into the science behind the use-inspired acceleration of protein design, focusing on the small binders and then enzymes. And then I'm going to walk you through the Ideas Lab process, starting with a preliminary proposal, Ideas Lab workshop, and then briefly about the full proposal that you shouldn't be worried about at the moment. And if we have more time, we'll go to the questions and answers. So in 2022, in the CHIPS and Science Act, Congress authorized the establishment of NSF's New Technology, Innovation, and Partnerships Directorate. And within that CHIPS and Science Act, Congress named 10 key technology focus area, from advanced computing to advanced communication. In fact, my colleague SJ has a solicitation about that currently, and you can find it at NSF. It's called Breaking Law. And of course, one of the things that we're going to focus on today is biotechnology, specifically synthetic biology. Congress named 5 societal, national, and strategic challenges as well, including national security, manufacturing and industrial productivity, workforce development, climate change and environmental sustainability, and equal access to education, opportunity, or other services. TIP is a unique directorate. It overarches all scientific disciplines, and it integrates with NSF's existing directorates to accelerate use-inspired and translational research and development to advance U.S. competitiveness in key technology areas. And TIP mission states that TIP harnesses the nation's vast and diverse talent pool to advance critical and emerging technologies, address pressing societal and economical challenges, and accelerate the translation of research results from lab to market and society. TIP improved U.S. competitiveness, growing the U.S. economy, and training a diverse workforce for future high-wage jobs. So TIP fosters partnerships with government, industry, nonprofit, civil society, and communities of practice. TIP will bridge the gap between public and private funds. The programs help move discoveries out from the lab into use. Typically, NSF funding primarily goes to foundational research, as you can see here on the left. And TIP helps by funding use-inspired research, prototype development, product scale-up, and would get research consumers into technologies and into practices. So this is a summary slide. It has all the information that you need to know about this solicitation. So USPRD seeks to advance protein design and its applications, focusing in 2 areas or 2 tracks: use-driven applications for small binders and the design and use of enzymes and families of enzymes. I just want to bring everybody's attention that the focus on the focus of this one is on use-inspired translational research with applications beyond human therapeutics. And these are just examples. It can be more than that. Examples are advanced materials, biomanufacturing, agriculture and food security, environmental remediation, sustainability, and climate-related challenges. This solicitation has a unique process called the Ideas Lab. Only teams and groups formed during a special Ideas Lab workshop will be eligible to submit full proposal. And to be invited to the workshop, there is only a 2-page preliminary proposal with other documents that I will go into later. So preliminary proposal to participate in the Ideas Lab are due April 23rd. Please note that this is a very important date. April 23rd, where you, apologies for that, April 23rd is where you, it's the due date for the preliminary proposal. And the Ideas Lab workshop, which is an in-person workshop, is going to be held on June 10 to 14, 2024, in the vicinity of Alexandria, Virginia. So let me step back a little bit and tell you what we want or what we hope to accomplish. Well, it's an exciting time to be in the protein design field, as we made significant advances in predicting the 3D structure and designing specific small proteins. Using macromolecular modeling, training data, AI, ML, and high throughput characterization. But protein designers and tool developers at the moment need to be co-localized, and it's limited to a small number of research facilities. So what we hope through this solicitation, that 3 years from now, we will create a thriving ecosystem for everybody to join in, and co-localization is no longer needed. We want to encourage a large number of use-inspired protein designers to participate in that and start producing use-inspired application. We hope for robust and independently supported protein design and characterization tools, and then to be widely used by small companies, large companies, startups, academia, and others. And of course, focus on training new translational talent. But in order to do so, we need a little bit focus on the two solicitation and focus our attention. So the first focus will be on small binders. So great progress had been made in the design and structured prediction of small proteins. And we want to leverage that knowledge to advance applications in the molecular recognition space to enable biosensors. So advanced translation research in bioinstrumentation space, and these are just examples of what we can do with it. It relates, as I mentioned, we're going to focus on applications. So we want to focus on applications related to the environment, agriculture, etc. Examples are to detect environmental toxin or monitor soil health. We can also advance biosensors that play a role in manufacturing. As an example, it helps quantifying and identifying intermediates in process optimization in cell-free or cell-based systems, as well as we can generate libraries of small protein binders. These libraries should be readily available for a wide range of use, with also specific note that it should have specific applications to it. We need to demonstrate that there is a specific applications to those small libraries. The second topic is cargo delivery system. So there is great progress already made in human therapeutics using this cargo delivery system, namely in cancer research and cancer therapeutics. We want to take that and expand it and have applications to agriculture, the environment, climate resilience, and other topics. Examples, we can target specific organelles in plants, or we can target specific organisms in aquatic ecosystem, whether to enhance certain processes or inhibit the production of unwanted materials. Note that in each section, A and B, it must include use-driven application. As you noted, this solicitation mostly focused on application. The other topic we want to focus on is enzymes and families of enzymes. We want to extend the range of accurate prediction we have now for small binders to enable the design of enzymes. It could be significant optimization. It has to be significant optimization of natural enzymes or de novo design enzymes. We consider approaches that can be generalized to families of enzymes. For example, if you want to work on the stability and longevity of a certain enzyme, we want you to focus on generalizing that to the whole family of that enzyme family. Example of differentiated enzyme capabilities that we can focus on. And again, these are just examples. There are more ways to contribute to this solicitation is novel enzyme for agriculture and or industrial benefits, degradation of environmental biomass, biocontaminants, sequestration of biomolecules to promote sustainability, and production of new materials. Of course, we're going to want to focus also on optimize stability and activity for biomanufacturing to help the U.S. bioeconomy. Again, all these categories must include use-driven application. That's the main overriding approach that we want to have to this process. So let me guide you through the process. So this is the science we want to focus on. And as you noticed, we focused on two topics, small binders and enzymes, but we kept the scientific scope quite broad. There's a lot of application we can use with the small binder and enzymes because we want you to discuss the details and crystallize the project during the process of the Ideas Lab. So how does the Ideas Lab work? The Ideas Lab starts with a preliminary proposal. It's a 2-page proposal to participate in the Ideas Lab. And after preliminary proposal review, we're going to invite 30 to 40 participants with diverse expertise. And once in the Ideas Lab workshop, just, we know a lot of you folks. You have great ideas and great applications. We want you to come in, brainstorm ideas. We want you to form teams for broader impact. And then you can sit together and outline project plans. And then at the end of the workshop, a subset, maybe all of the proposed pitches during the project will be invited to submit full proposals. And then full proposal will be from selected teams to submit proposal will go through review and eventually getting awarded. So through this process, I'm going to focus on 3 main topics. It's the preliminary proposal, the Ideas Lab workshop, and at the end, I'm just going to touch a little bit about full proposal because full proposal is not something we need to worry about it right now. It's something that we have time for after the conclusion of the Ideas Lab. And as I said, only those that participate in the Ideas Lab will then be eligible to submit full proposals. So let's start with the Ideas Lab preliminary proposal. It's required via research.gov. Again, it must come from one individual. And although that individual is associated with an organization, but it's an individual that's going to submit the preliminary proposal, and that individual should be available to attend the workshop. And please follow the preliminary proposal guidelines specified in the solicitation. Briefly, it's a 2-page limit. There are other required documents. Details are in the solicitation, and I will touch upon that at the end of this webinar. And it's very important that your organization that you represent must be registered with SAM.gov in order to be, in order to be able to register to research.gov. This can take weeks. Please start early. Deadline for the preliminary proposal is April 23rd. Again, I will touch upon those requirements at the end of this webinar. So who should apply? We want to bring experts from different backgrounds, from different expertise. So startups, folks that work in startups, small companies, big companies, academia, nonprofit, you are more than welcome to apply and maybe join us, because we want to make a broader impact by bringing different entities together so they can work as a team and then be more productive and have more ambitious goals that is attainable as well. individuals with expert, and it can be multiple expertise from a range of disciplines. We definitely want application-specific expertise, if you have that. Entomologists, bioengineers, molecular biologists, physicists, mathematicians, chemists, computer scientists, techno-economic analysis, and more. And we do welcome anyone, any stage. And we do welcome participants at any stage of their career as well. So again, the Ideas Lab preliminary proposal selection and guidelines. Again, invitations to the workshop. Again, 30 to 40 individuals will be invited to the workshop, and those invitations will be based on information submitted in the preliminary proposal. Submission should confirm your availability to attend the in-person workshop that will be held on June 10 to 14, 2024 in the vicinity of Alexandria, Virginia. It's the DC area. So the solicitation has all the details for the guidelines that you need to know about the preliminary proposal. And we specify that in page 1, about 200 words for each bullet below, a brief summary of your professional background, your expertise and interests, and suggested approach or contribution towards USPRD. And then on the second page, we would like you to answer 4 specific questions that will help NSF evaluate your suitability to the Ideas Lab environment. Each specific question should be no more than 150 words. Again, just 2-page preliminary proposal to be invited to the Ideas Lab workshop. So let's talk a little bit about the Ideas Lab workshop itself. So 30 to 40 people that are invited will engage in an intensive workshop for exchanging ideas, forming collaborations, and crystallizing project plans. The in-person workshop will be preceded by 1, maybe 2 teleconference meetings just to coordinate before we have the in-person meeting that happens in June 10 to 14, 2024. So we ask all the invitees to come with open mind and definitely open for new collaborations. We want the individuals to collaborate together for the broader impact. So please come in with your great ideas, with your great application approaches, and let's have a great discussion so we can push the envelope in protein design and advance it, create that ecosystem that we want everybody to benefit from in 3 years or so. So the workshop will be coordinated by professional facilitators and domain experts, also called mentors. And some of the elements of this process, first, we bring your ideas. I know you have great ideas. So get a lot of ideas on the table related to applications and technologies for small binders and enzymes. We're going to combine those ideas into innovative potential projects. And then dynamic team formation will happen. So we can imagine that teams will form, reform, 2 small teams can join together, or maybe 1 big team can split. There's a lot of dynamics that happens. Again, bring your ideas, your collaborative attitude, and come to the lab and let's exchange those ideas. And the team will forge consensus on target applications and metrics for success. Again, all the details will be discussed at the Ideas Lab. Just come with the ideas, come with the big ideas, and let's work together to push this topic even further. And it'll be actually a real-time peer review to revise and define proposal solutions. So let's talk about what kind of outcomes we expect. As I mentioned, during the early stage of the workshop, teams will form and start developing project outlines. And towards the end of the 5-day workshop, each team will pitch his plan or their plan. Selected pitches will be invited to submit full proposal according to NSF guidelines. Attendees of the workshop will also force consensus. I mean, that's why we're having this discussion. We need to form consensus on certain projects so that relate to the challenges and target applications. I mean, we want the team to form from multiple disciplines so they can aim for an ambitious but attainable goals. We want you to aim high so we can get goals that's going to benefit the US bioeconomy. But again, it has to be attainable. It has to be within reason. And then in the workshop itself, we're going to also define the metrics through which the progress towards these goals will be measured. So all the great ideas, everything will be crystallized during that 1-week workshop. It's going to be exciting. We're going to have time to relax, but we're going to have a lot of time to discuss science and then push the envelope on protein design to build that ecosystem so everybody can benefit from it in the future. And during the workshop, there are specific components we're asking the folks to focus on and should be outlined in the projects. Most importantly, use-driven activities that design novel proteins that demonstrate their applications. You heard the overarching approach is applications, applications, applications. There are plays for infrastructure components such as software tools, data sets, and characterization services. That's probably more related to the protein design. We want those infrastructure components and the software maybe to address the dynamic nature of proteins and build new and push the envelope of what we can do with small binders to enzymes and maybe other proteins as well. But again, for this one, the focus is on enzymes. But in either case, each proposal should include an application. And if you have an infrastructure component, we're going to ask that you'll have a designer-facing component to allow third parties to benefit and enjoy that software or that infrastructure that you're building. In a way, it will bridge the infrastructure with use-driven activities. As I mentioned, we're focused so much on the ecosystem. We want to have an ecosystem for everybody to benefit, so such as standards, roadmaps, and coordinating activities, so everybody can pitch in with their ideas and enjoy the fruit of this solicitation. And we want to also train the next translational talent. So workforce component also is an important part of this. Again, these things that will be discussed and crystallized during the 5-day workshop that will happen between June 10 to 14. So I'm going to focus less on the full proposal. Again, we need to get folks first in the ideas lab, and those that are in the ideas lab will be eligible to submit a full proposal. But for a full proposal, you'll have time. So post-workshop, teams will have time to work on the full proposal, and they can recruit additional members. So if you have a collaborator, you want to include him in the full proposal, he can serve as a senior or key member. The full proposal, of course, will conform to the project outline developed at the workshop. Ideas Lab full proposal must identify outcomes and deliverables. Again, we're focusing on application and what metrics will define success. And the full proposal must follow NSF proposal and award policies and procedure guideline. Will be supplementary documents, a management plan, and intellectual property management plan. That again should be included in the full proposal, but as I mentioned, we have time for that. We just want to focus now on the preliminary proposal, bring you into the ideas lab, and start exchanging ideas and brainstorming. And the full proposal review will evaluate proposal using the National Science Board approved merit review criteria, the intellectual merit and broader impact, but there are solicitation-specific review criteria. So the reviewers will look, if successful, how significantly will the proposed work advance translation of the key technology of protein design into applications important to the US bioeconomy? And then to what degree does the proposal contribute to achieving the specific goals set during the Ideas Lab workshops? Again, we're going to brainstorm these ideas, and the full proposal should reflect that, including the specific sub-goals I just elaborated on just a minute ago about the use-driven activities, the infrastructure, designer-facing component, and ecosystem and workforce components. And then does the proposed project have the appropriate mix of stakeholders? We want academia, industry, nonprofit to come together for broader impact. And we want to have the right mix to attain the use-inspired objectives of this solicitation. And of course, all the themes should be congruent with what was determined in the Ideas Lab. And if there's any significant changes, please contact me for questions. But again, I don't want you to worry about the full proposals. We just want to focus on the preliminary proposals and attending the Ideas Lab process. So these are the important dates. So the preliminary proposal due date is April 23, 2024. The Ideas Lab in-person workshop is in June 10 to 14, 2024 in the vicinity of Alexandria, Virginia. Again, full proposals, we still have time for that. It's going to be August 30th. We're hoping to fund up to 8 awards, up to 3.75 million per year. Type of award is going to be a standard grant and cooperative agreement. Let's worry about that later. Just bring your ideas, bring your applications, and come to this Ideas Lab. And before I open the webinar for questions, I want to emphasize important registrations at sam.gov and research.gov. So institutions submitting proposals, even individuals representing institution that's going to submit proposals to the solicitation must have an active UEI, unique entity identifier through sam.gov. This is a prerequisite for submitting a proposal on research.gov. sam.gov registration can take several weeks, so please start early. SAM registration must be renewed annually. So if you recently applied for a grant at NSF, you're in good shape. But if you haven't, make sure that you have an active SAM account, and so you can continue with this. Research.gov, which is an online grant management for the NSF community. Register your organization and establish roles. Each organization must have someone registered as a PI and then authorized organizational representative. Registration process time takes up to 48 hours. Again, start early to get to that phase. There are other documents that we would require beside the 2-page preliminary proposal. These are the biographical sketch and the current and pending support. This should be submitted through using ScienceCV. It's the Science Experts Network Curriculum Vitae. This is the link to the website. We have frequently asked questions using ScienceCV in this link. Both links are found in the solicitation. So please, this takes time. Start early. So this is the first slide I started with. I hope it's more clear to people there. So this includes, as I mentioned, everything you need to know about the use-inspired acceleration of protein design. So we want to advance protein design and its application, focusing on small binders, use-driven application of small binders, and the design and use of enzymes. Again, the focus is on use-inspired translational research with applications beyond human therapeutics. As an example, these are fields that, just an example, it can be more than that: advanced materials, biomanufacturing, agriculture and food security, environmental remediation, sustainability, and climate-related changes. As you have noticed, and if you've been following this webinar, only teams or groups formed during a special Ideas Lab workshop will be eligible to submit proposals. To be invited to that workshop, there's a 2-page preliminary proposal, but as I mentioned, there's other required documents. Just to emphasize, the preliminary proposal to participate are due April 23, 2024, but it can take more than that for the registration, so please start early. And whoever applies for the preliminary proposal should be available to attend the in-person workshop that takes place on June 10 to 14, 2024 in the DC area.